Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Dental Momentum podcast powered by Duckett Ladd Dental CPAs and Advisors. Jared Duckett back at you with my business partner, Bill Ladd. And Bill, 2020 is come to a close, my friend, and we're looking at 2021. Thank God, right? Looking at 2021 and trying to figure out what are we going to tackle 2021 as a business, but more importantly, personally as well. So, Bill, you got any plans you're going to take down next year? Have you started yet?
2020 was such a strange year, and I think we all kind of felt like we were chained to our computers and chained to our home office desks. And so we're going to try to travel. I didn't do any vacations last year, and I think it got to me mentally. So we're going to try to get out and see the Wild West. I think that's our goal, at least.
Yeah, I've sat down and I've come up with goals, and my problem, and this is what we're going to talk today, is my problem personally. I get so jacked up at the end of the year because I get to sit down and set goals, but I just never really have a good process to do it. And maybe I'm like, the kids are in bed one night and I'm like, you know what? I got an hour. I'm going to sit down. Nobody's talking and I can knock this out, but I'm not consistent and I don't really have a process. And so we're bringing on our guy, Zach Hoskins, integrator here at Duckett Ladd. And I'm telling you, if this gentleman is so dialed in on processes, it's crazy.
And personal growth.
You're exactly right. Personal growth. I mean, this gentleman just has a passion for it. So first off, Zach, appreciate you taking the time to talk to us today, man.
Of course. Appreciate you having me on.
So, I mean, like I said, my problem is, like I said, I get so jacked up because I'm a goal setting guy, but I just don't have a process to go through. And really what I want you to kind of unpack, like I said, I'm going to brag a lot on you today. And how do you do it? What do you do, like sitting down at the end of the year, beginning of the next year? What do you do? Like, just let's get tactical here. How do you set your goals, your vision, what you want to try to achieve? What does that look like for you?
For sure. So it's interesting how you opened up in your introduction there saying that you might have some time after the kids go to bed. And so one of the most important things that we can do when we're getting into this mindset or this space is to change the environment, completely get out of our typical environment, get away from our office, get away from where we typically spend all of our time, to open up some creativity. So for example, one of my favorite places to go is a brewery, a craft brewery. So I'll go find a cool craft brewery, order, a couple of beers, get a beer flight or whatever that looks like to change the space, right? And so I'm changing my environment, and then I'm also doing something that I love, spending time in a brewery. That vibe is just a great creative vibe that I can start getting in the mindset of what do I need to accomplish, but also what have I accomplished? And so that's the first thing that we dive into as we get tactical into this is the prior year review. And so the important part about this is, what did we do last year? What happened last year? And this isn't truly at a tactic, like at a goal review level yet. It's almost just pulling out your calendar, pulling out your schedule, or whatever you use to keep track of the things that you've done that year, and then listing out all the positives. And just one by one, listing out all the positives. And side note, if you're listening to this, if you're watching this, I have a Google Sheet that's basically a template, a tool that you can kind of hop in the show notes and download, create a copy, however you want to do that, so that you can go through this as we're talking through it, or use this moving forward into this coming year as well. And so that first process, the prior year review, we're listing out all of the positives that we had, whatever it is, as small as they could be. For example, a trip that you took, or some time that you spent with your kids, or a date night, or something like that. And then we're going to list out all the negatives. And so the key there is to focus on the positives first, but then also go through and list out all the negatives. Here's where it gets powerful. Highlighting the top 3 to 5 positives on your second go around. So you listed all your positives out. So the first go around. The second go around, go through and highlight your top 3 to 5. And the next part is the even more powerful part, is schedule them right now. And so what you're doing is you're choosing the top positive things that happened the prior year, and you're putting them on the calendar for this year to ensure that they happen again so that they'll make the list again next year.
That's powerful, man.
The next thing that you do is you do the same thing with the negatives. List out your top 3 to 5 bad things that happened that kind of were in your control, or things that you can put a system around to stop. So list your top 3 to 5 negative things and then put a plan in place to remove them, and hopefully have them not happen if you can control them. A lot of things this year were out of our control, but there's some things that were probably. And so the goal is just to look at those negatives and put a plan in place to remove those. And so when
you start there, Zach, and you think back, probably the instinct is going to be for people to probably have a fairly short list of positive and a huge long list coming out of the year that we just had. That's human nature. And I'm guilty of it too, is to always kind of focus, man, if this would have gone differently or this would have gone better. So speak to those people right now who are kind of looking at that and thinking, man, did really much happen positive for me? I mean, it did, right? I mean, it's just buried in there sometimes.
For sure. It's one of the most interesting mindsets. And I'm a big fan of the Stoics. And it's all about, how we react to what happens. We are in full control over how we react to the scenario. So we can look at things in 2 ways. We can look at things like, yes, that was horrible, and focus on the negative, or we can truly take a step back and say, yes, that was horrible, but what can I do moving forward? How can I use this experience to help others? How can I use this experience to help me moving forward in the future? And so that's one of the most powerful things to do, is just to start off the year with a prior year review, get those things, those positive things that you want to do again, scheduled, and then get the negative things, get a plan in place to get those out of here for the next year.
Yeah, I think that exercise is powerful because I'm going to tell on myself as I always just say, well, last year was behind me. And by doing that, you basically say, well, all the good things that happened that year, you're not going to deliberately schedule them to make them happen again. So that to me is huge about what happened this year that was awesome. 2020, what happened that I want to continue and I want to achieve in 2021. So that is a huge one that I'm just jotting down notes as we go right here on how that's going to work. So what do you do from there, Zach? You've looked at that prior year review. What are the next steps?
So now we raise up just a little bit. So that was really boots on the ground, day-to-day kind of review. So what we want to do now is look at our goals. So hopefully 2020, you started off the same kind of scenario. Maybe it looked a little different, maybe it didn't, but hopefully you had a couple goals or some goals that you can review. And the simple part of this is just going back through those goals and, the goals you set, and be kind to yourself, but also be stern, make notes, and then move on. And so these goals are going to be, the goal, and I'm a big traction guy in the entrepreneurial operating system. And the goal in that is always to get 80% of the way there. 100% is utopia. It's perfection. It's probably never going to happen. But to the degree that you can accomplish 80%, then that should be okay. And so simply go back through your goals you set and be kind, be stern, make notes. And that's where, Jared, we can just move on and take notes and say, okay, this is what we learned, but let's just move on. That's the past. Now we're going to start looking at the future. What goals can we create now? And so at this point, we start transitioning from the review of the last year into what happens this year. The next exercise we go into is an exercise called the moving future. And so this is that true transition point of the moving future. Is basically an exercise by the Strategic Coach company. And so we use this every single year. Typically, it could be done every quarter as well. But what you really want to do here is look at 3 things. Morale. So this is, what are you proud of in the last year that you did this? What are you confident in? What's the momentum? What are you confident in right now as you're going into this new year? And then what's your motivation? What are you excited about? What truly gives you excitement about this next year? And so when you list out the morale, you list out the momentum, and you list out the motivation, it gives you a great inventory of patting yourself on the back. How did you do in the last year? What are you confident about now? And what are you excited about in the next year?
So Zach, let's kind of pause there for a second and let's go back, because I want you to kind of unpack for us, how does this correlate with what you do on your business side, or to our listeners of their practice side? I mean, are they interrelated? Are they completely separate? We're kind of talking here about yourself, you as a person. How does this tie into your business and its goals, and how you looked at that?
Absolutely. So one thing that you can do is you can create just a divider, and you can take some time to look at your personal side and then at your business side. Or if you have a strategic planning process, or if you have someone that facilitates a strategic planning process for you, you can use this as an inventory to then take with you on the business side to kind of do some prior planning before you meet with that strategic planning facilitator or traction implementer, whoever it might be. So I would encourage you, if you are kind of struggling to figure out, okay, do I do this for my business, or do I do it for my personal? Maybe take a little bit of extra time and create divisions and do some for your personal and some for your business, and see how they intertwine, because it might be very interesting to see, are you in balance of, hey, I have a lot of things that I'm really proud of in my business, but I don't have a lot of things that I'm proud of in my personal life. Or are you out of balance, in balance or out of balance, as far as, same with excitement. Are you excited more about your business, or are you excited about your personal life? Where do those lists kind of fall out? And so that's a great question, Bill. I would encourage you to create that division and look at both your business and your personal.
Well said.
Yeah. And the key there, I mean, you said that is, are they balanced? Are you extremely excited about your business, but your personal is not as well? Try to get those in line, because then if they're both in line, everything's going to excel.
Yeah, for sure. And that's a pretty big theme throughout this entire system, is ensuring that you are keeping in balance and you are looking at both of those sides to ensure that they are, rising tides raise all ships in this scenario. So after we look at morale, momentum, and motivation, what we want to do is we're ultimately starting to look at our inventory. What are we inventorying for our goals moving forward? What are the top priorities moving forward? And so looking at the morale, momentum, and motivation, now you can take a look at the 5 key multipliers. Let's call them the 5 big dominoes that will give you the most value and will get you to where you desire to go quickest, or in the most simple way possible. And so if, to the degree that you can look at the morale, momentum, and motivation and figure out 5 key multipliers, 5 key dominoes that you can knock down in the next year, that'll set you up solidly for later in the process. And the next part is another inventory. So basically this is called the dangers, opportunities, and strengths. It's kind of a different take on the SWOT analysis. It's called DOS. But what we look at here is we start with dangers. And so these are external dangers. These are internal dangers. These can be personal. These can be business. This could be anything. This could be another global pandemic, hopefully not, right? But this could be personal debt. This could be the water heater going out potentially in your house next year. Listing out anything that could be a potential danger, that could trip you up, that could be a challenge in your business or personal life in this next year. And what this allows us to do is it starts us to potentially look at what things do we need to put in place to ensure that those dangers, if they do happen, we mitigate those dangers as much as possible. The next one is opportunities. Same thing. What opportunities lie out there? What are you excited about? What do you see? What different things can you intentionally look at to maximize these opportunities? That's just kind of as simple as it is. What opportunities are out there that you see that you can maximize? The next one is looking at your strengths. Another opportunity to pat yourself on the back. What are you good at? What are you proud of? What can you leverage to mitigate those dangers and maximize those opportunities?
Yeah. So Zach, are you looking, like different areas of your life, I guess is what I'm saying. So, you got like, what is it? Like the Zig Ziglar goal wheel, where you kind of split it up between different areas of your personal life. Are you taking all that kind of in consideration when you're doing this?
Absolutely. So As you see on this, whenever you get to the tool, whenever you download the tool, you'll see that they are broken up into that Zig Ziglar Wheel of Life kind of segments. So you've got career, you've got financial, you've got spiritual, physical, intellectual, family, and social. And so that can get the biggest thing that I hear is that can get very overwhelming. Whenever you start looking at doing this for each individual section and scenario. So what I want to encourage you to do is take just a simple approach and just fill out one or two, or fill out whatever you're most passionate about, or whatever you think needs most work in your life, in your mind, whatever that looks like for you. So great question. I definitely think at some point it would be awesome to get to the point where you have that perfectly rounded tire. It's almost like Dave Ramsey says, if you're going 70 miles an hour and you got, a flat tire, you're going to, burn out, crash, whatever it is. And so this helps you kind of inventory what are the places that I do need to air up my tire to make sure that I can go full speed and accomplish what I need to accomplish.
So let's, one thing I love about the flow here is, we are big believers that every business is a family business, and, what happens at work carries over to home. So let's kind of carry on the thread of as we're going through this. Let's say that you do have a partner, a spouse, whatever. Are they involved in this process, Zach? I mean, is this something that you bring your partner into, or do you do it independently? How would you view that?
Yeah, so that's another great question. And I think it depends on your personalities. So for example, my wife is, she's not a big fan of planning or doing goals or looking at all of these things. She loves being in the moment and kind of being present and taking care, doing and viewing it in that perspective. So what I tend to do is I kind of have that conversation up front and I say, hey, here is what I'm doing. Here is what we're looking at. And then always bringing it to her and sharing that with her has always been extremely powerful, because she knows that, at least there's a plan in place and that I'm taking care of it. However, if you and your partner or spouse or however that looks, love doing this, and I think it could be an incredible opportunity to leave your space, go get a weekend away, rent out a cottage or something away in the woods, and spend some time and go through this and just say, hey, where do we want to go? What is it? And so there's also, if we put a pin in this real quick, if you are able to do that with your spouse or with your partner, the last part in this system will be extremely powerful as well. So great question. I do think that it is very important to be aware of the personality styles and the personality traits. Is it okay to have these conversations, or is it just going to be better for you to truly spend some time and do this and then present the plan? So
Yeah, that's a great question. I was going to ask the same thing, and I like your response. It depends on your personalities, because it's kind of like you. I get into the goal setting, and I'm going to say my wife is not I'm going to say doesn't get as excited about it as me. We're just different personalities.
yeah,
But I have some friends that the couples do get together. I even think like Brandon Turner, with Bigger Pockets, him and his wife go to the same exact place every year and travel to do that. And it's just kind of a routine thing they do. So I like that answer. I mean, it just depends on personalities.
for sure.
So what next, Zach?
So the next part, and this is where it kind of gets interesting, and I got this from Brendon Burchard's High Performance Habits book and his planner. And what this is it's called the Whole Life Assessment. And so what this is it gives you the opportunity to rate yourself. And this is on a monthly basis, but it's a perfect time to start. Rate yourself in multiple areas of your life. So in health, mental and emotional, your partner, family, friends, mission, experiences, spirit, finances, and learning. And so what it does is it gives you a little bit of a description of what a 10 looks like in each one of those scenarios, and you rate yourself from 0 to 10. And if you do that on a monthly basis, consistent monthly basis, you can start seeing trends where maybe your health starts dipping down. Maybe your family starts increasing because you're spending more time with your family. But basically what it does is it gives you this overall score from 0 to 100, and then individual scores in each one of the areas. So you can watch the overall trend at the end, but you can also watch the individual trends in each one of the areas.
I love that, Zach, because, Jared, as you and I are advising, we're always looking for leading indicators. Where are the problems? Where are those flat tires, or where are the nails in the tires that are going to cause the blowout? Leading indicators can tell you so much. And that feels like that's kind of what this is the trends you're talking about. Yeah. Create awareness. And that's pretty powerful.
We tell our clients all the time, one of the parts of our proven process is the diagnosis. And it's basically taking that diagnosis and taking it to the personal level. And I use this in another podcast the other day, but this example of like literally, you take your car in to get the oil changed all the time, to get that routine maintenance, to have a checkup, the full inspection. How's your car doing? When do you ever sit down and look at yourself? Like, give yourself a maintenance plan, if you will. Diagnose yourself. Where are you at? Yeah. And then how are you going to get better? I love it, Zach. That to me is just an exercise in itself right there. I mean, is that something that we can share with the viewers? Is that in your packet?
Absolutely. Yeah. So there's basically a 6-tab system, 6 or 7, 6.5, I think tabs is how I got it here. But it's a system. Just go into, hop into the show notes, download that, and then start. And that might be a good place to start, is just fill out the monthly, the whole life assessment, put the date in there, walk through that, and just kind of see where you're at. You might be at a 25, but you might also be at a 95. And then if, take that and run with it, the goal is just to gain some awareness and inventory of where you're at now, especially at this point in the process, to then be able to skyrocket your success moving forward in the new year.
Yeah, I love it.
So the next part, here's where I wanted to put that. I'll take that pin back out, talking about your spouse and kind of both of you doing this. Right now is where we go into the vision traction breakdown. And so this is also stolen from traction, but it's kind of a personal side. And what this is it looks at, why do I exist? And this could be either on a personal level or on a family level, like a partner level with your spouse. What do I stand for? So why do I exist could be your why, your mission, your core focus, however you want to define it. What do I stand for? What are your core values as a person or as a family or as a business? See how you can kind of start parsing these out. If you have personal core values and a personal why, and then you have a family core values and family why, and then the business core values and the business why, you have these benchmarks and these systems that you can just click off on everything that you're doing throughout your life and make sure that those that you're bouncing those off that backboard to ensure that you're making all of those balls in the hoop. Yeah. So then we go to, where am I going? So we've got, why do I exist? What do I stand for? Where am I going? And so where am I going? This is that long-term goal. And so one thing that I love doing is say you are okay, say you're comfortable planning 5 years out or 10 years out. One thing that I love doing is going 1 or 2 years farther than that. Slightly stretch your comfort zone and say, okay, in 12 years, what does my life look like in all of those 7 categories of the wheel? And so what that does is it casts out a long-term vision in each one of these categories to give us a target to aim for. We might not hit it exactly. However, that's the target we are aiming for. And
so
then
give some examples there, Zach, if you can. And I'm putting you on the spot, but
yeah,
like 12 years, that's a long time.
Yeah.
But I love it. But 12 years in those 7 categories, like what would some of those examples be? Like, how specific do you get to a degree?
For sure. So for example, in family, in 12 years, I want to be fully devoted and committed to my wife and our children. That's what my vision in 12 years looks like. So I don't know what that means. I don't know what that looks like per se, because that's not the power of this vision yet. The goal of this is to give us a solid target thrown out there to be able to then reverse engineer what does it look like to be able to hit that. For example, financial, debt free. That could be, that's it, debt free. That's 12 years down the road. However, now, as we move forward through the end of this process and we start wrapping it up, you'll see how we reverse engineer these long-term, larger goals and actually put pen to paper and figure out how we can get
That
them.
makes perfect sense. So as they get closer to you, they get more specific, more tactical.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I love it.
So then what we do, so we have all of those long-term goals. We'll call them BHAGs, big, hairy, audacious goals. I'm sure many of you have heard of that. Then we break it down into a 3-year picture. And so it's the same thing. It's just a little bit more tactical. And this can be one of the hardest parts of this is how do I differentiate between this 12-year target and how do I get specific enough, but not specific enough to ensure that there's a 3-year picture out there that's just that will keep me on track for this BHAG, this 12-year, BHAG. And so that's going to be probably one of the biggest challenges that you'll have is defining what this 3-year picture looks like. But the goal of the 3-year picture is to bring that 12-year BHAG down to the ground a little bit closer to ensure that you can accomplish those things in 3 years to ensure that you're on track to hit what you desire to achieve in 12 years. And then it starts getting real powerful. We start bringing it really close to the ground. Then it's a 1 year. So that's a 1-year plan. So now it's like, okay, we have the 12-year, we've got the 3-year, and we got the 1 year. What do I need to accomplish this year to ensure that I'm on track for my 3-year? And this is where the 6.5 tab comes in. So the 6.5 tab is the goal setting tab. And this is where it blows it out a little bit more. You've got your SMART goals, specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, time-based. And so we ensure that we build out 2 to 3 maybe in each one of those categories. The goal would be to simplify down. These are the only things that I'm focused on this year to ensure that I'm on track for my 3-year target. So one more, we dial it down even more to a 90-day priority. And these could be 1 to 3 priorities to ensure, basically you're breaking up those 1-year goals down into 90-day priorities. So this creates a 90-day world for you to truly, truly focus on what do I need to accomplish in the next 90 days to ensure that I'm on track for the 1-year plan to make sure I'm on track for the 3-year picture and that 12-year BHAG. And so you can see the power of reverse engineering with a why do I exist and a what do I stand for, backing you up along the whole way, and then just bringing down all of those large dominoes to truly accomplish what you desire to achieve.
So what's that look like for you, Zach? I'm going to get like specific, like how long does it take you at the end of the year or the beginning of the next year to sit down and go through this process you've kind of just laid out?
Yeah, so I typically block off about 4 hours. 4 hours of just specific focused time that I can just go through each tab and just really, so if I block off the space, schedule off some time, make sure the good beer's on tap, right? And then spend that time focused, everything off, no distractions, completely away from everything else. I take about 4 hours. I believe if you did this with your spouse or if you did something else, make a weekend of it, take your time, and it can be super powerful what comes out on the other side.
So Zach, I love the system. I love how structured it is. Put yourself in a dentist who came through 2020, very good tactically. That's kind of what they've done. And they're sitting there thinking, man, that sounds great. But number one, I don't have time. And really, why should I do this? So in your opinion, why should somebody do this? What has it meant to you? I mean, when you look back and since you've been doing this personally,
For sure.
why do you keep doing it?
Yeah. So I think that kind of goes back to personality too. However, I think that it's just the desire to always get better, and always striving to achieve, to provide more value. And so and provide more value doesn't just mean to your clients. So if you're a dentist out there and you're wondering when you have the time to do this, I would encourage you to ask the time when, or ask you the question, do you have time not to do this? because if you have a flat tire and if one of these parts of your life is flat and you're running 70 miles an hour, you're going to crash. I don't know if it's this year. I don't know if it's next year. I don't know if it's in 10 years. However long you can sustain this flat tire, then that's okay. But just know that you'll crash. And so, to the degree that you can at least put some intentionality around taking a step back and planning, it's the same conversations working on your business as working in your business. It's working on your life instead of just working in your life. To the degree that you can do that, your life will be better. And so that's just my mindset towards it. And that's the decision I've made. And that's the priority I put on it is I know that if I take this time to take a step back and put this plan in place, my life will be better. Even if I can't see it this year, the dividends might not pay off this year, but the consistency over 10 years can be exponential.
Well said.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I love the nail in the tire analogy. I'm not going to lie. We literally have a nail in my wife's tire right now, but it's not leaking that bad. And I don't have time to take it to the place. But that analogy, everybody's life, everybody's got nails in their tires. It's just a matter of how much is that air leaking. And the power of your plan is to address those nails in your tires and how are you going to improve them for the next year. Yeah. So Zach, this is powerful, my friend. I mean, I would like to know, and I don't know how we could find this out, but like how many, I'm going to say individuals or maybe just listeners right now, how many listeners actually sit down and spend a good amount of time, deliberate time. That's my problem. I don't make it deliberate on thinking out how they're going to get better next year. I'd be curious to see what that percentage is. But if you're not doing it, guys, Zach's giving you the plan. I mean, this guy's done it for year after year after year, and I'm assuming keep building on your plan and making it better, tweaking it as you see new stuff and implement the process. Yep. But I mean, I see this as just a great way to not recreate the wheel.
Yep.
Zach's going to give you the wheel on how you can really get better. So Zach, we appreciate it, man. I mean, any last tips or anything for the viewers regarding, kind of knocking this out?
If you don't do anything else, just download it and go do the whole life assessment. That's literally the only thing that I would say. If you just don't do the rest, do the whole life assessment, see where you kind of hash out there. I'd just be curious to see, and I think you'd be pretty curious to see as well. So thank you guys for having me on. I truly appreciate the time and the energy and effort and attention that you guys give to making dentists' lives better and to providing that value to them. I can only imagine the impact that you guys have. So.
Yeah, no, appreciate that, Zach. And even I'm just thinking another podcast in itself, like this is how to create the plan. But I think more important to a degree, I mean, it's important to create the plan, but that accountability factor is what do you do on a daily, weekly, monthly basis to make sure you're clicking off, that 90-day goal. And so maybe that's a podcast in itself later on down the road. So Zach, we appreciate it, man. I mean, as always, guys, tons of gold nuggets in this episode. If you're thinking about, starting your what 2021 looks like, download this information. Zach, I'm going to put a word in your mouth. If you have questions, you can probably reach out to Zach. He'll probably help you out, on a question if we can help out. But as always, SSR guys, share the episode, gold nuggets all over the place. Subscribe. If you haven't subscribed now, do it. If you listen to 2 or 3 episodes just on the whim, subscribe. It needs to come right to your feed. Give us a rating, give us a review. Guys, we wish you a 2021 of success. 2020 has been tough for everybody, but there's no reason why 2021 can't be the best year of your life, to be honest with you. If you just get deliberate on what Zach's talking about, you can crush whatever you want. Just put in the work is really what it takes. So Zach, Bill, appreciate you guys. And we'll talk to you guys soon. Have a great week.
Thanks.